best feelings in entrepreneurship is when you can look back at good moments and like have that moment to sit back and look back at everything that's happened as like a collective. And I think I had that the other day. Every couple months or so, I'll look back and have a day where just no business whatsoever, just look back. And I think those days stand out the most, where I can get out of the hustle and bustle of business and trying to really build something and just look back and really appreciate like the journey.
The collaborative entrepreneur.
Hey, welcome to episode number 1 in The Collaborative Entrepreneur, where we are all about building partnerships that grow your business. My name is Tracy Currington, and I want to introduce my guest here in just a minute. But have you ever wanted to delve into the mind of a person who appears to be going places in life, and so you can learn from their experiences and things that they've got going on? Well, if you have, then you're in the right space. Because on today's conversation, I'm going to be talking to a young entrepreneur who's growing in his business and learning as he goes along the way. And our conversation will take a deep dive into his business, learning what he's learning from, learning about his story, what's motivated him to start his business, the wins, the losses, the learns along the way, and also what he's actually working on today and how you can connect with him. He will also share some valuable insights and lessons that he's learned on his entrepreneurial journey that can help you on your journey as well. So get yourself your coffee, your hot tea, sit back, tune in, learn from our guest entrepreneur. His name is Erwin Cronk. Erwin, welcome to the call today.
Yeah, it's great to be here. It's honestly an honor to be here. I've been working with Tracy probably now 6 months or 4 months around that time. And just like seeing each other grow along this time has been really great. And yeah, I'm really excited to go into what I'm doing and talk about how I've met Tracy and everything that's gone in the last few months.
Hey, that's awesome. I'm really excited about having this conversation with Erwin. Erwin and I have been, like he said, speaking for probably about 5 months now, and he's added a lot of value to me, my business, and especially my marketing social media strategist, Gavin. He's done a lot of work with him, and I'm really grateful for what's going on there. So, Erwin, let's start out with you. Give our listeners a 3 to 5 minute bio. Who is Erwin? Where have you come from to be where you are today?
Yeah, so it's to be fair, it sounds like quite a usual story. It just happened to be much earlier than what a lot of people do. And I think from an early age, I always enjoyed the idea of businesses. I was trying to find a way to impact someone and make some money doing it. And it kind of happened that in school, I realized that I could already monetize what I was doing just for fun, posting on social media, just doing what normal kids do and being able to find a way to actually monetize that and make money through it. And I learned, actually, one of the big things I learned in the beginning is actually just like beginning to work my way up. I know as entrepreneurs in the beginning, we're always just trying to like jump to the biggest thing first. And that was one thing I learned in the beginning, is trying to really provide value first and then figuring out where money comes into play after. And so I started out, I'm currently based in London, England, as you can probably tell by the accent. And so
love the accent, by the way.
Yeah, actually, it's weird. I get that a lot from Americans. Some people find it annoying, some people find it entertaining. That's one thing you can use definitely once I jump over the pond, using that to like really stand out, and it helps a lot. So all my clients are actually based in the US, so it's really strange how it came about, and that's something I'm working on actually, man. It's really working more globally. I've just signed a client from Switzerland, so it'll be good now to really go more global. And so yeah, pretty much at the moment what I'm doing is marketing for businesses. I mainly do done for you. So we go into businesses and we build their marketing for them, build podcasts for them, and really get their presence up to date so they can really find clients. And then kind of what I did with Tracy is just doing consulting of how we've been able to do that with people. And I've just started again, just like Tracy, trying to build on the YouTube game now and be able to give those gems that we get with clients just to get people on the right track to really building something big with their businesses and in life in general.
Yeah. So guys, what I thought was so fascinating about Erwin, Erwin reached out to me. So I'm 47, he's not yet 20. He's reached out to me from across the Atlantic, just said, hey, I'm seeing some of your stuff, your content on YouTube, and I'd love to connect with you. And I'm like, okay. So I get on the call with this guy, just struck it up just from the word go. And it's just been fascinating to see that relationship take off. And it's been about every Saturday we get to connect. Is it a 6-hour difference between us?
Yeah, I think 6 hours.
Yeah, and so we try to find a time that works for us on a Saturday that we can connect. And it's just been great to kind of build that relationship. And what's so amazing, guys, what he just said was really phenomenal, in my opinion, because here he is, he's living in London, England, and he's reached out and connected with people in America being at a young age. That's courage is what that is. And that's what I think that's what inspires me about you. It's just your ability to connect, stay warm, stay friendly, and never pushy. I've never felt pushy or anything like that about what the work that we've done together. It's always been, as our show is about, it's about collaborating. And I jotted down the definition of collaborative is basically produced and conducted between two parties for mutual interest, for mutual benefit. And it's basically, I look at, like, some people look at cooperating with somebody and some people look at collaborating. I would prefer to collaborate, because if you're cooperating, it's because you have to. Like, why can't you guys get along? But if you collaborate, it's because you want to be in that space, that you want to be there. And guys, that's exactly what I feel like. And all the guests that I'll have on this program, on this channel, that's exactly how they feel too. And it's just been great getting to network with Erwin and getting to know who he knows, and he getting to know who I know. And then, without unashamedly saying, hey, Erwin's a good guy, he's a solid guy, and you ought to do some business with him. So Erwin, the next question I want to ask is this one. What has been so far in your young entrepreneur journey, what's been your greatest accomplishment so far?
I think actually it's hard to think of one specific thing. I like the idea of, personally, this is it's not necessarily an accomplishment. My best feelings in entrepreneurship is when you can look back at good moments and like have that moment to sit back and look back at everything that's happened as like a collective. And I think I had that the other day. Every couple months or so, I'll look back and have a day where just no business whatsoever, just look back. And I think those days stand out the most, where I can get out of the hustle and bustle of business and trying to really build something and just look back and really appreciate like the journey bone. Because I know in the process there's things that get you distracted. It's like, let's do the next thing, let's move to the next thing, and taking those days where you can look back. And I think in terms of accomplishment wise, obviously signing clients and getting good results for them is really important, but like those times where you can really look back and just appreciate what you've done, because business, especially in like online business, can be a very lonely thing where you're going through a process, focusing on other people for most of the time, where my daily targets and practices all involve doing things for others and not for myself. And I think taking those 1 or 2 days every couple months to like really look back and appreciate like what I've done for myself as well is like really nice.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Guys, what I've known about Erwin is that here recently he's been giving back in his community. He's been teaching and especially the young classes and stuff like that he's involved in. It's pretty exciting. So the next question, you ready for it? Okay, here we go. How have you been growing and you're developing yourself since leaving school?
Yeah, actually, it's a funny question. So I always find this funny how since leaving school, so I'm currently 17, I dropped out of high school at 16. And I find it weird how, and a lot of people who went through the educational system are not going to like this, but I see myself learning more out of school now and in different ways. I think school is a lot about tracking progress, like what grades you're getting A's, B's. Whereas when you leave school, if you're doing something that's really going to give you experiences, I've seen now that I get more knowledge, but in ways that aren't necessarily trackable. So by learning, by reading books, by listening to podcasts, and I've seen a lot of it. In fact, the main way I've learned is through actual experience. And I think that's one thing that you definitely lack in like formal education, is really actually going out and experiencing, doing work, like in the beginning, working 9-to-5 jobs, working for minimum wage and that sort of thing. And then you get the full experience to then scaling up, and you appreciate things way more through that. It's actually learning from the bottom, going to the top. Whereas I feel one of the reasons why I left this school just feels like an easy path, not just going to the top to the bottom, and really getting the whole experience and reading, doing general business. And the key thing for me, and I tell every young person, is to not be scared to work for free. And that's where you get the true experience and knowledge for, is like working for nothing. So when you have something, you appreciate it so much more.
Oh yeah, I like to call that a spirit. You're developing a spirit of generosity. And I think it's many wealthy people will say that like real wealth, like when you get really wealthy, all it does is compound who you really are. It accentuates who you really are, amplifies it, magnifies it. And if you can learn that skill of being generous and being kind and giving back when you're young, then when you're older and you get a little bit more wiser and wealthier, then you'll always maintain that.
Yeah, no, and one thing I'll say actually to add on to that is, for a lot of people, and I'm not sure exactly, there's going to be people who are 17 who have no money in the bank and people who are 50 with millions in the bank. It's going to be a nice like collective audience, but I can tell you for the younger people and people who are on the journey to building something, from what I've seen, when you make money, you think this huge change is going to happen, like you're going to buy this thing and that thing, and then you actually get it and you see nothing really changes. You just, like you said, it brings out more of what you're currently doing. Like, I personally have a rule, which I recommend to anyone if it makes sense to you in the moment, is I only spend 10% of what I make. So, and I noticed now, and it's actually funny. So when I made, say, $1,000 a month, like right in the beginning, I was finding it difficult to spend 10%. I was like, oh, I want to spend more, I want to spend more. Then when I made $10,000 a month, I noticed that I still wasn't spending more. In fact, there's even just now, actually, I noticed this as well, was the more I make, the less I spend, which is weird because you feel like you've put the effort to make it and you're like, oh, actually, I'd rather not spend it. I'd rather just have it and be able to almost just look at it. And I've noticed now I spend less now that I have it than when I did in the beginning. I thought I'd buy all these designer clothes, and now I look at it and kind of see it as like, but it's not really going to change much for me. Like, just because there's a logo on my jumper doesn't really mean much. Yeah. And now looking back, is you appreciate it so much more that you've done it, not that you can now spend it, I think.
Oh, that's gold right there. Thank you so much for that. That's huge value that you just added right there. Great. That's dropping some nuggets right there, brother. Good stuff. Okay, so in the marketing, sales, business development space, I want to explore that. Like, how did you come to know that why? I mean, because here, I'm like, all things being equal, when I was 17 years old, I was not thinking about what I currently do today. I was like, I mean, they're so far advanced than where I was as in my late teen years. So how did you come to know your why in life?
Yeah, and actually, so it's funny, I'm still working on that now. I think the one thing, it's a difficult question, actually. It's a good question, though. It's something that I think even now I'm still working on, still trying to put together. And the big thing for me is we all have different whys and like the reasons we're doing things. And it's really molding it around like where you want to go. So I find it difficult even now to put an actual why I do things. I think the main thing is, for me, is having control over what I want to do. So if my why changes, then I have the ability to do that. So I know, like in the beginning, my vision was, I had one vision. I want to move to the US. That was my only vision. And now it's changed to like, yeah, now I want to help people. And now I want to do this. And now I want to, and it always changes. And I think this is personally for me, I try to stay away from the vision and focus on like just giving. That's literally, because you always get somewhere good if you give. Like, I see all these people, especially in marketing, you see it a lot, where they send out cold emails and DMs and say, hey, do you want to buy my thing? And I'm just like, that's just not how you do it. You give to people without expecting. That's the big thing as well, is not expecting. Like, I help hundreds of people. I'm not expecting any of these to convert. And it's the same thing where my entire business now is based, I don't sell anything. I get on calls with people. If I think it's right for them, then I'll ask them if they're open to it. And in most cases, and in fact, we signed a new client just by this, is I'm not actively selling. They're asking me to work with me. It's not like something that I'm trying to pursue. And that's when you see that then you actually generally help people, because people who need help ask for it. Whereas if you're trying to like push them and say, oh, this is the right thing for you, you need to do this now, you need to do that, it doesn't really value too much to people. So really focusing on giving first, and especially when you're young and when you're stupid, in most cases, don't really know what you want to do, just find something you can give. And even like, I can see this now in the beginning, where I worked in the beginning for free, for $5 an hour, whatever it was. I just realized, just give something, do something to help someone, and you'll always find something successful out of it.
Yeah, that's so good. I was in a business conference this past week, and what you said reminded me of the guy who there's some that spoke on mindset, some that spoke on attitude, some that spoke on sales. And the guy who spoke on sales is actually a licensee with Grant Cardone. And he talked about how if the sales seems pushy and you feel pushy, you probably are. And he said, and if you are pushy, you miss something, because they're not bought in. They don't see the value. And basically, if somebody wants to work with you, like you said, they're going to ask to work with you rather than you have to push yourself on them. That's good pull. Love that. What do you think? What about like when you get stuck? I mean, so here you are, young man, your future's ahead of you. You're figuring things out as you go. You're giving massive value back to people, and people are serving you. Before the call, you told me that you just signed on a client from Switzerland, which is awesome. Congratulations. But what do you do when you feel stuck, or if you feel overwhelmed? What do you do then?
I think what I've seen, especially actually, you've been super, super helpful with that. It's finding people who have done what you've done. So people who have done like the mistakes and that sort of thing in that area, and see how they can help you. Like I spoke to you a lot about faith, and I knew instantly, like you told me you have a background of having intense faith and like really going down there. And I knew instantly, I was like, right, Tracy's the right person to speak to. If I have a problem with business, maybe there's someone else I know. And like really finding the people who have faced those same challenges. It's wrong to just know yourself and learn as you go. But I think finding people, if you know the right people, to go to them and really ask them, because I think especially, I mean, for personally as a young person, you think you know everything, you know how to do the next thing, you know how to do everything. And finding people who have made hundreds of the same mistakes that you've done is honestly the best way to go about it. And finding people, like one person can't have the experiences of 5 different people. So find 5 people who've all had 5 individual experiences that you're suffering right now, and then getting the answers to those. And obviously, like I said, giving value to those people first, then exchanging value. Yeah.
And the way that you approached networking was actually an inspiration to me and my son, who works with me and that you've worked with a little bit. And that was actually, it kind of motivated me. It motivated me to say like, well, hey, if this young man, not yet 20 years old, can reach across the Atlantic Ocean and connect with me in Oklahoma, well then, man, I can connect with somebody, in a distant city, or somebody in a different state that I'm in right now. And so that's really, really, it's been an encouragement to me. So thank you for that you've done just by modeling who you are. Thank you for doing that. How about this one? Okay, so one principle that you've applied to your life that everyone who sees you, they know it's lived out. You live out this principle. It's kind of like a guiding principle. It's a North Star. What is something that if somebody would see you, oh, I know Erwin, he's going to say this, or he's going to do this, because it's something that guides you as a core value. What's one?
These are hard but good questions, actually. I think the one thing that stands out the most to me right now is, if it doesn't affect your life 5 years down the line, then it's just get over it instantly. Like I've seen the other day, actually, completely, it's like, seems irrelevant now, but when it was happening, it was like the worst thing in the world. I accidentally cleared a hard drive and lost like a bunch of files. Went absolutely crazy and spent about 2 hours going mental about it. I was like, oh, this is horrible. I lost a bunch of stuff that I'd saved after like a few years. And I was like, it's not gonna matter in 5 years. Let me forget about it. I took an hour off. I was like, right, it doesn't matter. I can't do anything about it. I cleared them all out. And then I went back to my computer, and within 5 minutes, I solved the problem. So then I was like, it's just by focusing and thinking, this doesn't matter in 5 years. And then also, like, everyone has challenges that are going on at the moment, and thinking, how can I solve this without getting angry as well? Like, is a big thing, and not getting frustrated, because I've seen now and again, while you're in the moment, it's very difficult to keep this formula or whatever you'd call it, but like really focusing on what matters right now. Like, there's someone who's got this problem that you've currently got times 10. Like, there's someone who just lost their job because they cleared out a file. There's someone who has this challenge that's 10 times more. Like, maybe you have someone around you who's sick, but there's going to be people who have 20 people around them sick. And really focusing on like really appreciating the moments you have like in this time, and then like I said, focusing on what matters in 5 years and doing what matters like right now. Like, that's really the key for me. And especially like being young, is not going and really double thinking everything and focusing on really what's going to matter in this moment, because you don't know for sure 5 years down the line this specific thing's going to matter. So like maximizing what's happening right now.
That's awesome. That's great. Did anybody teach you that, or is that just something that you've come by yourself?
I think it's funny. That's something, I had a poster of that on my wall. I don't have it anymore. I'm not sure where I found it. It was on my wall for a while. I actually, every 6 or so months, I switch around posters on my wall. And so at the moment, I've got quite a few next to me, just actually from Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, just having rules that I found valuable to live by is really valuable. And actually, I was just going to say, I've got to jump for a call in a minute, but just as like the last point that I was going to say for your audience, and I've told this to quite a few people and learned it from Ed Milet, is people are always trying to feel happy. Anything you buy is to feel happy. So being able to make people feel something when they work with you, regardless of whether they sign as a client or whether they do this with you, just making them feel happy and being like a happy person in general, because 50 years down the line, I guarantee what you're suffering with right now is going to be irrelevant. So regardless of whether you're 10 years old or 50 years old, I guarantee you just focus on what's happening now and try and impact the people who are around you to like make yourself, and I see this a lot now, the more people you make feel happy, the more you feel happy yourself for the most part.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Erwin, for joining me on this call. I know you got to run, but thank you to all those viewing this call following TMC Coaching. You're going to learn a whole lot more about me and what I do online if you go to tmccoaching.org. Erwin, where can people follow you? How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I think for free value, just to learn more about what I do, I think probably YouTube. I don't really sell anything via YouTube. If I have a client who I learn a good experience from, I just send those out. So YouTube, I'm very active on LinkedIn as well. Just again, I'm not trying to sell anyone. I just really want to give value. That's
Erwin Cronk, ErwinCronk on YouTube. Awesome. Okay, then we got to let Erwin run. He's blowing and going, young entrepreneur. Thank you for collaborating with me today, brother. Until next time, y'all, surround yourself with great people who can elevate your thinking and inspire you to dig deep and do more. Until next time, we'll talk to you.
On behalf of Tracy, thank you for watching this episode of the Collaborative Entrepreneur Podcast. Be sure to like this video and turn on notifications for future episodes coming out every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you want to learn more about Tracy and the work that he does, you can find us at 180turnarounds.com. Also on all social media platforms under 180 Turnarounds. If you want to get in touch with Tracy about being on the Collaborative Entrepreneur Podcast, you can do so by emailing us at tracy@tmccoaching.org. Let us know the industry that you're in, as well as some wins and learns that you've had along the way. So until next time, let's win together.